Obviously, poetry is the most tiny, compact genre of language. And I think as a child, falling in love with listening to poetry, even before I could read it for myself, I felt that transporting magic of an image or a phrase or a lyric or just language that sounded carefully chosen, luscious, precise. I loved the feeling with a poem early on, and still do, that you could read a few lines and be carried away. Be carried away from your current situation, your own preoccupations. Really, poetry was the magic carpet for me. And I love stories and novels and essays and journalism, good journalism, and everything as well. But usually it's a little longer, and there's a little more flab in it, I guess, or excess, or it's not as refined and carefully selected as a poem. So I love that miniaturist but huge quality of a poem, and the way a poem trusts us as readers, as interpreters, to feel it, go with it, understand it, hold it, without a lot of didactic explanation. I have very little tolerance for the sort of piece of writing that keeps pounding us over the head with its message, or telling us, do you get me? Do you understand? Did you pick up what I meant? And that style of writing, that kind of didactic, explanatory writing, is very popular in the world, very common, exists in all fields. I mean, someone recently gave me a cookbook, and I gave it away because it was so didactic. I mean, it acted like it had to tell you what stir meant. Maybe it was written for children or something, but it had a tone, and I thought, I don't want to eat that food. It's too bossy. I like to play around with my recipes. I don't want a cookbook hanging over me. And poetry is the most respectful genre, I think, for the reader, in terms of, go where you will. Maybe you won't go exactly where I was when I wrote this poem, but it may be somewhere interesting. And I love that sense of possibility as a reader, as a listener. And so writing poems, finding connections between images, layers of metaphor, being willing to hint, as the poet William Stafford used to say. He loved poetry because there was a hinting, suggestive quality about it, and then a lot of trust. You'll be able to take this somewhere that matters for you. Walt Whitman saying, to have a great poem, you have to have a great audience. So that mutual interaction. I try to write scenes, even in prose books, which feel or sound poetic. I'm not sure I always succeed, but certainly when I'm rereading the text to myself, I hope for that. I try to hear the language, feel the richness of a phrase. You're still weaving a tapestry, even if it's a prose book.